Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Karima and I am powered by power. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you are new here, I'm gonna need you to go ahead and click that button down below. It's red, it's free, it says subscribe. Join me on my journey as I tap into all the power that God has given me. Welcome to the season finale, y'all. We made it. This is episode 5 of a series that I'm calling Stop Giving Away Your Power. It doesn't even belong to you to give away anyway if you ain't got no ring on your finger. But go back and check out episodes 1 through 4. Episode 1 was the struggle that really led to this series, but God don't make no mistakes. So I'm grateful that I was able to do a deep dive and give you guys episodes 2 through 4. Today, I'm not going to go on a whole rant about what happened in those. Just go check it out because today, this episode, I'm excited. I'm so excited because I have one of my very close friends here who we've been friends for like 10 years, y'all. Like 10 years. It's crazy. But she's here to share with us her wisdom because this woman, I'm gonna let her talk in a second, but she is popping. When I tell you she's popping, she's been in my life and my life has been blessed ever since. Like she pours into me every time we talk. We don't live in the same city, but when we link up, it's like no time has passed. And I'm grateful for her wisdom. I'm grateful for her life. There was supposed to be 2 people in this conversation tonight, but technology is not the greatest all the time. So we had to just roll with the punches, and it's okay. It's okay. Still gets the glory. But tonight we have the very special, the very wonderful Carrie Relf here to talk to us. Hey, girl, how you doing?
I'm doing good. That was such an introduction. I'm like,
You deserve that and more. Like, tell the people who you are. Give us whatever you want to give us. Share with us your accolades, all your good stuff. Tell us what you about.
all right. Hey, y'all. I'm Carrie Relf. And look, listen, to be honest, Karima just gave like the most poppin' introduction. I don't even think I have to say anything. But because she asked just a little bit about myself, I do live in Troy, New York, but I'm from BK all day. Okay, don't get it twisted. All right, I live upstate now, but born and raised Brooklyn, New York. Okay, I moved upstate to go to college. That's where I met Karima at UA.
You know?
Yeah, so that's where I met Karima. I did my bachelor's there in sociology, went on to do my master's in human services with a concentration in marriage and family counseling. And I currently am a child welfare trainer. I train child welfare staff across New York State, but I also am an entrepreneur. I have 2 businesses, one LLC, Anchor Life LLC. Check out my website, www.anchorlife.llc.com, and you can learn all about it. And then I'm also a CEO of my own nonprofit, Foster Can Inc., where our mission really is to help young people who are transitioning out of foster care integrate into the community and have all of the resources and skills that they need to succeed. In addition to that, I'm a pastor, I'm a wife, and I actually co-pastor with my husband, Justin Rowe. Shout out to you. Hopefully you're watching. Everything I'm talking about was before you. So yes, but yes, I'm the proud wife of Justin Rowe. And you know what? Life is good. 2020 was a hard year, but we're still here. And that's what up to nobody but God. And so I'm really excited to be here with Karima and just to share with you guys.
See why I had to give her that intro? Because she's dope. Like CEO, like there's no basic people around me, y'all. Like she's popping. Everything that she just stated will be down in the description box. Make sure you check her out. Make sure you support. If you don't need it yourself, but you know somebody who does, listen, support each other. We gotta lift each other up, y'all. So check her out in the description box. Thank you so much, Carrie, for being here with me tonight because I know how busy your life is. I know all of the things that you have going on. Like this woman is a giver. Like she will give everything that she has to make sure that your life is better. And I'm grateful for her, y'all, for real.
I wish well, but here. This is about to be a dope conversation. So I'm honored.
I'm excited. Y'all ready for this conversation, y'all? Y'all ready? Because we're about to share. I'm transparent, but I didn't know what transparency was until I met Carrie. Yo, the things she would tell you because she's just bold about the fact that she's an overcomer. And so that's why I really wanted her to come on here to tell us about like her journey to get to where she is, right? Like she's married, like she said. How long have you been married now?
7 years. It'll be
And
7 years in March.
I think I've known you guys like maybe 2 or 3 years before that, right? Well, obviously, because I said we were friends for 10 years. So I knew both of them before they started to get married, or they started to be in even a relationship, because they started off as friends. And so I say all that to say, like, there was a season before her marriage that we gonna talk about just a little bit, right? Because listen, we're not gonna look back too much, but we gotta look back to help the other people, move forward. The first question that I want to talk about tonight is, how did you handle temptation? Like, what was your what was your process, or what was your thought set? What was your thoughts or your mindset that you had to have in order to deal with temptation? Talk to us.
How did I handle temptation?
Mm-hmm.
Could I didn't be a good answer? So I didn't at first, right? And so, like, if we're gonna be honest, like, sometimes we have this idea that we just like fall into something, but in most instances, I went walking right into it, and sometimes running right into it. Okay, you talk about premeditated. Okay, so yeah, so there was there was a long season where I did not handle temptation. I just was like, listen, sometimes I was the tempter. Listen, we ain't gonna talk about that. Sometimes we be going out and we be lurking and we be tempting the man. Not all of them are men of God, so I ain't gonna say men of God, but we be tempting the man. We be
And
just,
we don't even gotta say nothing. Just the looks, like the looks that I've given people, they know the deal. They know the deal. Sorry, go ahead.
So yeah, sometimes I went looking. Okay, I was not being tempted, but I think as I started to really take my relationship with God seriously. And, we all go through these seasons, and sometimes it feels kind of cyclical. Like we'll go to a service, or maybe we'll talk to somebody, or we'll have an encounter with God, and we'll be like, all right, God, I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to go back. And then we try to do these things, but we don't really look inward to really make change. And so we try to address it on the surface level, which is what I did. And we end up right back in the bed, in the car, in the wherever we are, in the same place that we was before. Okay. So I think
real.
Listen, I think the key really is to allow God, to just be vulnerable to God, to allow him to do the work, because we cannot do it on our own. We are just fleshly people. We're born in sin. We're shaped in iniquity. It's a part of our carnal nature to desire these things, and we cannot do anything different without God. And so I really had to come to a point where God became the source of everything that I needed. Because if we're honest, trying to fulfill the flesh in that way is really us trying to fill some other kind of void that we have that we're not addressing. And so when we allow God to really be the source of everything that we need, then we can start to see not just sex, but other things that we use in place of him start to shed out of our life. For some of us, our power might be the, can I say the word? Listen.
Have power, that thing that Mario talked about.
Listen, but that's not the only way that we negatively deal with things sometimes. Addictions, listen, we could get into it. But anyway, really just allowing God to be the source and taking it step by step and day by day, because it's not a quick process. Mm-hmm. Because when we think it's quick, that's how we end up back in the cycle, because we move too quick. We really have to do the hard work. We have to do the hard work. Self-awareness, examination, changing up our surroundings. Stop going to the place where they're going to be at. Stop answering the phone call at 4 in. Stop sending the text message at 3 a.m. Listen, you will end up in some real ratchet situation if you don't have
after 2 a.m. Like, stay your butt home.
Listen, literally stay home, because the Lord will embarrass you. Okay, stay home. Listen, real quick, I had this one instance, and I was listen, it's like I'm talking about Satan's hours, like 3, 4 in the morning, because ain't nothing godly happening at that time. And I'm literally leaving my house in some ungodly clothing and a coat, going to some dude's house. It's like winter time, it's cold, and it is morning time, and I'm like, well, how I'm about to walk back to my car and daylight looking like this, right? So really, you will be embarrassed. God will embarrass you too. So really, just stay home. Stay home. Stay home.
Stay home. It don't even, like, temptation is one thing, right? Like, it's like Like sometimes it could just be like a thought, or like you just have somebody trying to say something to you in your ear. But temptation is a whole nother level when you are now the one that's tempting, or you are now the one that's playing with fire and creating the fire and walking through it. Like, you know, like there's so many stages in our life, like in our Christian walk, where sometimes we're just all the way out there and all the way far from God, but you know that eventually you gonna have to, he gonna pull you right back in. You gonna
Yeah.
have to get it together. So those like Carrie just said, those moments will embarrass you so you can get to where he needs you to be sooner. And so it's amazing how God will convict you and really will have you hit, and not necessarily rock bottom. I'm trying to think what my rock bottom would be. I don't think I've ever necessarily hit rock bottom,
Thank
but
God. Thank him.
thank God. Right? But I've been in some things that are just like, why are you even here? You put yourself here, right? Like when we deal with certain things that we know is heavy on our lives, right? Like the spirit of lust can be, it was heavy on my life for a long time. And when we deal with those things, like temptation has so many different forms. And sometimes we were the ones tempting. And so now that we're in a place where God is at the center of our heart, God is at the throne of our heart, what do you do now to make sure you don't even play with fire? To what are some of the boundaries that you set up to make
Heavy
sure?
on the boundary. Heavy on boundaries, because like temptation doesn't just go away, you know. And I said earlier that I'm married, and sometimes I feel like temptation just comes stronger when you really like trying to be in the Lord's will, whether it's moving forward in marriage, whether it's moving forward in ministry, whether it's moving forward in serving, even trying to elevate yourself in your career or your education. Everything you're trying to do something for God and in like on your purpose track, right? The enemy is right there behind you trying to reel you back in, because ultimately he doesn't want to see us get to purpose and get to destiny. It's not about these moments of sin, right? For him, that's not what it's about. It's about trapping us up into a lifestyle that will ultimately stop us from getting to purpose and getting to destiny and ultimately the plan that God has for us. And so really you really have to have boundaries, and you really have to have the self-awareness and be vulnerable and transparent enough to just be real and say, you know what, there's certain things I cannot do. There are certain people I cannot speak to. There are certain places I cannot go. There are certain things that I will not entertain, especially again when you are really trying to walk the walk. I know even as a married person, there have been times even in my relationship, Justin, don't be listening too close. But anyway, there's been times like in my relationship, like if we're going through one of those down seasons, I'll say, you know, nicely put, one of those down seasons of marriage where things are not all roses and peachy,
Talk about it because it's
right?
real.
Then you could be just at work minding your business and somebody come up to you just chatting, big chatting in your ear, and it sound real good, and then they start to feed places where you might be lacking, and then now you in these conversations unintentionally, and now it can go quickly turn in the wrong direction. And so realizing that and saying, you know what, right, we can't talk no more. I'm at to block you, because heavy on the block game. Some people you just gotta block and cut them out. You can't just be like, oh, I just ain't gonna talk to them no more. Because the minute you see them, you falling right back in that whatever that entanglement is, or whatever that drawing is that drew you in, like connected you with them in the first place.
Right.
So really, boundaries. You have to have boundaries, and ultimately you have to seek God about those boundaries, because we might think it's a good boundary in our mind, but God is just like, no, go deeper. Go deeper, do the hard thing, do the part that's uncomfortable, do the thing that you don't want to do. It's not enough to just say, I'm not going to talk to that person anymore. Sometimes you really have to literally disconnect. And sometimes the enemy, most times, these soul ties, he will use them to keep you in bondage. I remember there was this one dude, and I know it was ain't nothing but the devil. I really was trying to disconnect from him. I blocked him, deleted his number, stopped like associating myself with him. And the stronghold was so real, I found myself calling T-Mobile, like go through my call log and tell me where this number is. That this is the zip code. I need to find it, because where there's a will, there's a way. And if you are not disciplined and do not have the boundaries, and you are not submitted to what God is doing, and you're not allowing Him to work through you, nothing's gonna stop you.
Yeah.
Because it's the Holy Spirit that convicts us and that empowers us to change. And so if we're not yielding to that, we're going to do what we want to do. That's just point blank, period. We're going to find a way to do it. We're going to make the way to do it.
That's
And
a
so the same energy that we put into making that way, put that energy into your process of deliverance. Put that energy into your process of moving forward. Put that energy into the process of leaving old things in the past and becoming new and becoming made whole.
Absolutely. Heavy on the like whatever. I find that like when I put my energy into certain things and I like take a step back for a second, or I like have like an out of body experience and I look at myself doing this, it's just like, girl, what are you doing? You ain't never give this much energy to figuring out revelation from the scripture. What would really happen if you put this same energy, this same mental real estate into figuring out what God meant by that scripture that you didn't really understand when you read it the first time, but you just closed the Bible and went to sleep? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we have all of this energy and all of this attention for all the things that tempt us, but when it comes time to Him, when it comes time to the things of the kingdom, do we really put in that same energy? And I find that now I'm in a season of my life where I've learned all of these lessons and I'm trying to make sure that I learn them by operating differently, by making sure that people stay blocked, making sure that people are not around me that will trigger me, making sure that I'm setting up the proper boundaries so that I can make sure that God has His proper place in my life. And so if temptation is something that you struggle with, like Carrie said, you have to be real and go to God about what kind of boundaries you have to set up. That was, I believe, step 2 in the how-to guide that I talked to you guys about yesterday. You guys have to really be able to set up boundaries, and everybody's boundaries is not a cookie cutter, one size fits all. You have to make sure that you understand your cycles, because your cycles may not be my cycles. Your trends may not be my trends. Your life is not my life. So you have to be real with yourselves and set up boundaries that work for you, right? We can tell you all of our boundaries, but if our issues or our struggles is not your struggle, then our boundaries are not going to work for you. And so I admonish you guys, if you're listening right now and you know the temptation is real in whatever situation that you're going through, set up boundaries that are going to really make sure your life looks different from what it looks like right now. That if you're going to a certain place and you know that that is where most of your temptation is coming from, stop going.
Yeah, push the limit to your boundary. Like, your boundary has to be a by any means necessary type of boundary. Like, Lord, I'm going to get free by any means necessary. I'm going to get to where you're trying to get me by any means necessary, because the enemy is relentless about you.
All he does is to come and steal, kill, and destroy. That's his only job. And he's not going to stop until he gets his job done. It's our job to put on the armor of God to make sure that we can combat all of that stuff that he tries to come at us with. But girl, it's like, when I think about how far we've come, when I think about the stories, because yeah, she was my friend in college. So
Karima showed me things I never thought I'd see.
OMG, this is not what this is about. This is not.
I was like, wow. Wow, that's crazy.
Nah, but we got some stories for days when I tell you that the road to get to this place, the road to walk in my deliverance, the road to be able to share my testimony and be unashamed, the road to really forgive myself, because I never thought that I would be able to really understand what my power is. I never thought I would be able to love myself the way I do right now. I never thought I would be able to allow God to use me as his vessel to share with you all how real it is to live for him, how real it is to be delivered. Like, deliverance is a journey, it is a process, and wholeness is not, it's not there's no like set destination. It is a continuous climb. Like, we're continuously climbing, continuously healing to get to who God has to get us to. And in order for us to really maintain that journey, we need accountability. We need people around us that is going to sharpen our iron. Iron sharpens iron. And like I said before, like, we know that we're powerful. We know that we have all of this great stuff that God has given us, because he's called us to do greater work. So we got to have some great stuff, right? So when it comes to accountability, when it comes to the people that you have around you, what does that look like for you in this stage of your life? Like, how does accountability play in your life right now?
Yeah. And so I think the big thing about accountability, and I like there's something else you said that really like stood out to me, but like a lot of times we don't embrace accountability because we don't think we need it. And we think that whatever the thing is that we need to be accountable to can't happen to us. Oh, it's not going to be that bad, or I'm in control. I know how far I'm going to go. I can stop at any time. And so we really undervalue the power of being connected to like-minded people and people that can help us move forward in life. And you said that iron sharpens iron, and I love that particular statement because I think that it really embodies what accountability looks like. We are okay with accountability as long as it makes us feel good. If somebody's in our corner, patting us on the back and bigging us up and putting batteries in our back to, oh girl, you look good, girl, you got this. We like that type of accountability, but we don't like the accountability that challenges us.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about iron sharpening iron, do you think two pieces of iron scraping up against each other feels good?
Absolutely not.
But it always feels good. We have to question, is it really accountability, right? So
Mm-hmm.
to get to your question, I feel like in those parts, in those seasons, back in those days, I didn't really have a lot of accountability. I didn't really understand the importance of it, nor did I feel like I was connected to that many people who could lead me somewhere out of where I was. Because I think that's also a key. You can't think that you can't be the blind leading the blind. Basically,
Right.
you gotta have somebody stronger in that particular area. Maybe not in every area, but in that particular area, to be able to coach you, to pray you through, to empower you, to help you move forward. And so I didn't feel like I had those kind of connections. I was surrounded by people who empowered me to continue to be in my flesh. It was accountable to that, making sure I got to that thing, right? Or I had people who were not saved. Because, let's be real, you're saved, but you might have friends that are not saved and they're good friends and they love you and they mean well for you, but they cannot speak into your life spiritually. They cannot push you into your spiritual destiny, your purpose, which God has called you for. And so there's a limit on that relationship. And so I have people who love me and they push me and they want the best for me, but they can't speak life into those dead places. And so now, as someone who is a leader and a mentor, I understand the significance of accountability so bigger than what I thought it was. And I am honored that I get to walk through life and do life with people in that way, because I can help somebody not make the same mistakes that I've made. I can help somebody avoid some of those
Pitfall.
tunnels, some of those pathways that I've gone down. And that's what it's about. Our life is not our own,
Yeah,
right?
that's
The
it.
things that we've gone through, it's not just for us. A lot of it has nothing to do with us. One,
That's
it has
it.
everything to do with God's plan, which doesn't even have anything to do with us. We really need to humble ourselves and be honored that God would even choose us to be a part of his plan, because he didn't have to, right?
Right.
He did not have to. And so a lot of the things we've gone through, it reaches so far beyond what our mind can comprehend. There are things that you're going through right now that generations later in your lineage will be influenced by,
Yep.
and you have no idea of it. There are people connected to you waiting to come into contact, waiting for that divine moment where you get to share something and it helps them get through their process. And so you never know how far your situation is going to reach. And so we always have to position ourselves to say, God, why? And sometimes we're taught not to question God, right? But I don't believe in that. I'm a firm believer, questioning God. God, why am I going through this? What is the purpose in this? What is the lesson in this? What glory are you trying to get out of this? What are you trying to pull out of me through this situation? Because everything that we go through, it's for him ultimately to use.
Right.
He's
Exactly.
going to use it.
Exactly. I got this vision as you were talking, just
Oh, come on, prophetess.
not, I can't with you. I really can't with you. No, I just saw accountability in a way that I never saw it before. Like pretty much hearing what you were saying, especially about the generational aspect, it's almost as if our life is accountability. The way we choose to walk this earth is accountability, because you don't know who's watching. You don't know who may be able to tell your story later and be able to like you said, like our life is not our own. So if that is the case, and if God has a greater purpose, that means that every single thing we do is helping somebody else in some way, shape, or form.
Even
So in
when we can't
essence,
see it.
yeah, exactly. You may not even know. Hebrews 11, the chapter that talks about faith, right? All of these different like pillars of faith in the Bible, they didn't even know what they were having faith for, because they died before the thing that they were trusting in happened. But it definitely happened because God is a promise keeper,
Yep.
right? And so it's crazy that that perspective that I just gained from you talking, like our life is accountability, right? Like we are accountable to each other, and we don't even know sometimes how we can really be affecting generations from now. We can really be affecting somebody walking down the street because our light is shining so bright, and it's just like, whoa, like, like we don't know, which is why we always have to make sure that every single thing we do, God is at the center of it. And
Yeah.
we can't go wrong when that's the case, right? If he's
So wrong.
at the
It's true.
throne of our heart, there's nothing that we can't do, right? We can do all things through him. And that's crazy that you just like blew my mind just now. Like you didn't even know. Like I'm big, heavy on generational mending, generational gaps, and being able to like really understand communication so that generations can really be able to pass on and leave a legacy. Because I come from I don't know how I want to say this. My legacy is strong in certain ways, but in other ways that I have been able to realize certain generational curses that exist in my family. And I'm grateful to have this relationship that I have with Christ to begin to break those things, to begin to change the trends in my family. And so with that being said, it's just like I I have to be accountable to those people that are coming after me. Like I have to be. I have no choice, especially if I want to see things change. If I want to be the one that changes things. So, girl, that's real. Like what you said is real, because we need it. We need to make sure that our life is giving God the glory, because it's not our own. We're created for his glory. So, whew, wow. I love when when your mind gets blown and you never thought about something like that. It's just like, let me just sit with that for a second. I don't even want to move on from that, but okay, let's keep it going. I got a few more questions for you. I hope y'all are out there taking notes, writing this good stuff down, because there's a lot of jewels that have already been dropped. I hope you pick them up. Pick them up. Okay, don't let them stay there.
Already been dropped.
So we talked about boundaries, we talked about accountability, we talked about the journey to get here and the different pitfalls that we faced, right? So now I want to ask you, like, knowing your life and knowing your journey and your path that it took you to be here today, what can you say are some of the personal benefits or the personal blessings that you've received once you really understood that your life had to be in line with the will of God, that your power needed to be protected? Like, what are the personal benefits of protecting your power?
Listen, freedom.
Mm.
Like literally freedom. And I don't say that lightly because somebody might be watching like, oh yeah, that's a cliche. That's good, right? But when you realize the level of, well, I'll speak for me. When I realized the level of bondage that I was in, like like the only thing I wanted was to be free, right? And so to have that freedom, that's priceless. And
Mhm.
that can only come from God. And then recognizing who God is and recognizing who I am, because I feel like you can't talk about power without talking about identity,
Mhm.
right? Because we have to realize who we are, who God is, who we are to him and who he created us to be. And that's where the power is. He is the one that is the source of power. And so everything that we have, everything that we are, it is because of him. But our problem is sometimes we don't know who we are. We don't know. And so we can't tap into the power. And so understanding who God is and who he made me, and that my life is so much bigger than I thought it was, and that there's actually purpose. Because really, sometimes being in bondage and being in those low places, you think your life is worthless. You think there is no purpose. You think you have no power, beyond the power that you keep giving away. But I'm here to tell you that that's a lie from the enemy. It's a lie from the enemy. It's a lie to keep you small, to keep you in a box, to keep you from being the game changer, the trendsetter that God called you to be, to keep you from being something so big that I can't even tell you what it is because it's that big.
Ears haven't heard, okay?
Listen, you tapped in. Go ahead, preach a little while. Preach to the people. Preach to the people.
You don't want preaching, girl. Keep going.
But it's so real. And I think that revelation, understanding when I understood that I had power, and that the power that I thought I had extended so much farther than what I could give somebody, not just physically, but sometimes that's attached to other things, being that person. I'm a giver, but that was not always in a healthy way. Giving my body, giving my money to people who ain't need it, giving myself to people who didn't need it, giving resources to people who didn't need it. You give, you give, you give. But when you understand the value that God places on your life, you become more selective with what you allow people to experience from you.
Yes, girl, you better. I just want you to know that you are saying all of the things, because that is the reason why this is a series right now. Just being able to understand how much that you've been giving away that people didn't even deserve. And so now when you take the opportunity to fill your cup back up, right? We spoke about this in episode 3, like fill that cup back up and God begins to overflow. Now you are able to give selectively and willingly, instead of being able to just be pulled and drained and have all of these negative connotations that come with your power being taken from you. No, now that you have power over who you want to give it to, because again, it's not just that thing, right? Like, yes, that power, what we possess as women, is powerful, but there's power in our intellect. There's power in our voice, our speech. There's power in our knowledge. There's power in our presence. And we can't just be around everybody because they may not deserve our vibes. We have this thing in this generation, like good vibes only. Like, you are good vibes because you are powered by power. And so you can't just be giving everybody your vibes. Like, what? You can't do that. And so, girl, that was it right there. Like, it's crazy because when we don't know, we just out here, just in these streets, we outside. No, stay inside and keep your power to yourself, because I just get so excited when I realize how far I've come and understanding.
I get excited when I realize how far you come. I'm just teasing you. No, but listen, when you've been through some things, and not just been through some things, but when you've been through some things that you never thought you could get out of,
that's it.
When you've been through some things that you literally could not see the way of escape. Now, the word always says that God will give us the way. Sometimes we don't see the way. Sometimes we're not looking for it, and other times we don't see it. But when you literally have been in a place of darkness, and that's what's coming, like, literally to my mind, like, just darkness where you can't see, your vision is blurred, your senses are limited by your surroundings, and you've come out of that place.
There's nothing like it. That's that freedom. It's like the allegory of the cave. I don't know if you guys ever heard about that. Google it and read it. Like, we are trapped. Like, we're born in this cave and we think that this is the only way we have to live, right? This is the only thing we know. But then we get this awakening and we realize there is life outside of this darkness. There's life outside of this cave. Like, we will not be trapped. We're going to go out and experience the world at large, like at large, because the sky is not the limit. And then sometimes once we adapt to our new surroundings of light, adapt to our new surroundings of wealth, of power, of just being dope, being
Yep.
purposeful, just all these things that God has for us, and we adapt to that, we adapt to the life of blessings. Now we're able, and only then are we able to go back into the cave and be able to help somebody else come out, right? And be able to be at a position where we now have a team, right? Because sometimes you can't go back by yourself, right? You can't be able to pull somebody up because sometimes they'll try to pull you down,
Yep.
right? But at the end of the day, our mission is always to go and win the loss, right? The Bible says he didn't come for the healthy, right? The doctor is not there to heal the healthy. We're here for the sick. We're here for people that need us to overcome, to stay in our power, to stay in our deliverance, so that we can help them now understand what that walk looks like and help them walk that out. And so that is ultimately the reason why we're here, honestly. Like, that's why God came. That's why Jesus came, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was here to make sure that he told everybody who his father was.
Yes,
And
it's a global responsibility.
yeah, the Great Commission, that is what it's about, the Great Commission. And so I am, as we are closing out on this series, and I've been thinking about this, like, obviously there's a lot of behind the scenes that you guys don't get to see. I try to share as much as I can and be as transparent as I can, but God has been dealing with me, and it's wonderful when I can get like-minded people to be able to really speak to these things and really confirm these things. And so I'm grateful to have you here, Carrie, because ever since I've met you, like, you've always been affirming, you've always been prophetic, you've always been pouring into me. And so I thank you that you were able
Your
to.
turn.
No, but seriously, I thank you for sharing your wisdom. I thank you for being transparent with the people, because I need the world to really change their perspective of what it means to live, right? Like, Instagram, social media, all these different things and these different platforms that got you thinking that life is this big, nice, cookie cut, nice thing, like perfect all the time. That's not real. And there was a journey for those people to be able to portray themselves like that and to influence you the way they are. But at the end of the day, I came and I created this platform so that I can show you guys my story, my realness, because I know that God has major plans for me. I know that there is a bigger picture, but I don't want to just post that big picture, that beautiful picture when I get there.
Yeah.
I'm called to show you guys the journey, so you know that God is real. So you know that God is still out here working out miracles and handing out deliverances and handing out blessings and being able to do the same for you. He's doing it for me, and so he's in the neighborhood. So I know that he's doing it for you guys. Expect it. I pray that you have an expectation for this deliverance to really be yours, for you to take hold of your power, for you to do everything that God has called you to do. And I hope that you were able to receive something tonight from me or from Carrie. I hope you were able to have some notes that you have from this and really understand, like, this is a conversation that needs to be had, not just between Carrie and I, but you need to be having these conversations with your friends, with your little siblings, with whoever needs to hear this, because it's real. Our power belongs to God, and we can't squander it. We can't just give it away. And so, do you have any last minute, not last minute, any last words to say to the people? My last question really is, like, what is your biggest lesson that you have, that you've learned about your power? What is the biggest thing that you have taken away from knowing that you are power and you have power?
Whew, I mean, yikes. The biggest lesson is that I am powerful because I'm powered by God. Like, literally, that literally is the biggest lesson. And if I had any like final things to say, it would be to just not think that anything is impossible. Like, nothing is impossible with God. And it doesn't matter where you find yourself and what you see and what might be going on around you. And you might even feel like, well, I can't get out of this thing or I can't move forward. Nothing is impossible without God. We are here, both of us. And listen, time really don't even allow for us to tell you some
Girl,
of the things that we were literally like yoked
bound
up in,
by.
like
Yep,
down by. And the fact that we can be here today is nothing short of God's grace,
absolutely.
nothing short of God's mercy. And the best thing about that is it's not limited to us. God's grace and his mercy is available to you right where you are, right in
It's
the
free.
midst of the situation. There's nothing you have to do but accept it. There's nothing, God's not going to require you to pay this price. All he wants for you to do is to accept it. And so it doesn't matter what it is that you're going through right now. And I know some of you might be watching this and you might be in some situations that have lasted years, things that you don't even know what life looks like beyond it. You don't even know what the possibilities are outside of this situation or outside of the connections that you have right now. But I promise you, on the other end of it is life, and life more abundantly. On
Yeah.
the other end of it is prosperity. On the other end of it is healing, it's wholeness, it's deliverance. It's the life that God has for you.
Mm-hmm.
In the current place where you are, you're living limited
Mm-hmm.
because you're not operating in the freedom that God has for you. There's so much more. So much more for you. So much more that you can't even think about because you're so confused by what you're going through. But I promise you, make yourself available to what God is trying to do in this moment, because you didn't watch this live by accident. You didn't just click on this link by accident. This is a divine moment, a divine appointment by God for you. Allow him to do the work and just sit back and ride the waves and let God do the rest. And on the other side of it will be a life that you've never thought you could imagine.
Nope. My scripture that I founded this on, and I always try to bring this up as much as possible so that this can be something that you hide in your heart, right? Like hide the word in your heart so you don't sin against God.
Yeah.
And my favorite scripture to remind myself is Ephesians 3:20. And it says, now unto him who was able to do exceeding abundantly. Some versions say super abundantly, more than we can ask or think. Right. So if you want to get out of this situation right now that you're in, that you're feeling bound by, ask it, think it, and God will do exceeding abundantly more than that thing. And it's according to the power that works within you. That's my favorite part. The power that works within you, because it's inside of you already. You already have the thing that you need to get up out of that situation and to hold on to your power and to stop giving it away. It's yours. It's God's. He needs it. So stop giving it away, guys. For real, for real. I really hope that this series you were able to really learn a little bit more about me, a lot more about me, but also like I hope I was able to hold up a mirror for you right now, and so that you can understand that your power belongs to God and that you have to honor him with your body, you have to honor him with your thoughts, and so that he can really be able to do the exceeding abundantly. I'm living in a season of exceeding abundantly and I'm loving it. And I admonish you to join me. Just think about a thing, ask it, and you will receive it according to the power within you. So stay powered, guys. Carrie, thank you so much.
And thank you for inviting me. And moments like this, I'm just reminded that nothing's wasted.
Yes.
Nothing that we've ever gone through, God wastes. He uses it all. Okay.
Oh my God.
So
No, Carrie, you don't
I
understand.
just like moments like this when I really sit and think about it. It's like, wow, nothing was wasted. Not one thing. Not one thing. God wastes nothing. And he didn't hold back anything when he made us. He didn't hold back anything when he made you, Karima. He didn't hold back anything when he made me. He didn't hold back anything for whomever is watching. Nothing is wasted.
This is what I be talking about, Carrie.
It's
Like
wasted.
you be all up in my like affirming stuff that God has said to me. When the beginning of 2021, he says, I'm going to use everything. That was his message to me. I'm going to use it all. Nothing is wasted. And you,
Nothing's
I
wasted.
can't with you. I can't with
Listen, that seems to be like a mantra in my life in this season, and every
you.
few weeks it just comes back to me like a moment. But nothing is wasted. Like the things that we didn't think, or the things we could not see beyond, like literally, God is using it right now.
Right
He's
now.
using it right now.
Right
He's
now.
using it right now, and so nothing's wasted. You talked about your favorite scripture. My favorite scripture is Romans 8:28. Not just because my birthday is 8/28, y'all.
All things.
All things work together for the. It's working together for your good.
Yes, you too, Carrie. Like for real, for real. God always has a plan. He always has a plan. And there's a reason why you're on this line right now. And so I'm praying that not just for the people watching this, but I'm also praying for you that because you are now giving of yourself in this way, he has something extra special in store for you because you gave yourself tonight and you gave us your wisdom. And so I need you to call me when that thing happens because you know he got something stored up for you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Tell Justin I said thank you for sharing you with me tonight. For real, I'm so grateful to have you a part of my
Love
life.
you,
And
Karima. And I'm so proud of you. So,
thanks, girl. I'm trying. I'm trying.
you're not trying. You do it. You are doing it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I need all of the sharpening. So when we get off this line, I'm probably gonna call you tomorrow, like, girl, what's next? Because we need to be holding up each other up. And so I'm grateful for you to be part of my accountability team and just
Yay.
all the good stuff. You're popping. Don't let nobody tell you different. Okay. I love you guys. I love you, Carrie. Thank you so much for watching. Listen, if you got to this point in the video and you are not subscribed, what you doing? Hit the button, okay? Bye guys. Love you. Okay. So let's stop this recording.
You are so cute.